I'm planning on claiming my Armed Forces pension over a decade early, and you can too. Hey everyone, and welcome to The Savvy Squaddie. In this video I will be going through how to claim your Armed Forces pension early and some other things to think about if that's the route you choose to take. Now, you can only claim a deferred pension early. This is because an immediate pension is claimed, well, immediately after leaving the forces. However, to receive an immediate pension, you must serve until age 55 under the 05 scheme and age 60 under the 15 scheme. Perhaps claiming your deferred pension early is news to you, but it's true. For the AFPS15, you do not have to wait until state pension age for the pension, which is currently 68 years old for someone like me who is 30. But state pension age is a moving target, and for many of us it will change. When it comes to the AFPS05, that deferred pension is usually paid at 65, but again, this can be claimed early too. So, how early can you claim the deferred pension? With both the 05 and 15 schemes, you can claim the deferred pension from age 55. It doesn't have to be then, you could claim it when you turn 57 or 62 for example. It of course will depend on your circumstances as you approach the window. But this feature is also not unique to the Armed Forces pensions. Most civilian pension schemes and even a SIP or self-invested personal pension can currently be accessed early from the age of 55. This is known as the normal minimum pension age. However, under UK legislation, this is set to increase to 57 from April 2028. So even then, this too is a moving target. But there is some good news. The Armed Forces pension, along with the firefighters and police, are exempt from this change. So ours will remain at age 55. But this is just generally good context to know, as some of you will have SIPs and will also go on and earn a civvy pension once you leave, both of which will be affected by this change. So what's the caveat? Of course, it's never just that simple, and your pension will be affected if you claim it early. It will be reduced, and this is because it will now be paid out for a longer period of time. The pension will still be paid for life, but it will never be restored to the full amount had you claimed it when it's normally due. Using my own career, let's go through an example to show you the effect and what to expect. I'm using the Armed Forces Pension Calculator, and I've created a whole video on how to use this, which I will link below. There is a feature on the results page which shows the reduced pension. Scroll down to the early payment pension with actuarial reduction AFPS05/15. There are 3 columns: age, lump sum and pension. You press the plus icon to expand to see the breakdown. So if I claim my pension at age 55, the soonest I can do it, I can see the automatic tax-free lump sum payable under the AFPS05 scheme is £887, and the pension amount is £227 per year. Some context as to why these numbers are quite low: I joined the army in October 2014 and only have 156 days on the 05 scheme before I then moved to the 15 scheme, which is where the bulk of my pension is. When looking at the 15 scheme, it shows the lump sum as 0. This is because there is no automatic lump sum under the 15 scheme. One must be created, which is known as commutation. You would opt to do this when you claim the pension. Unfortunately, this calculator does not show what lump sum you could draw via this process if you claim your pension early, which is something they could perhaps improve on. But keep in mind that opting to create a lump sum under the 15 scheme via commutation will further permanently decrease your annual pension amount. If I claim my 15 pension at state pension age and choose to create a lump sum, you can see that I could have a tax-free lump sum of almost £100,000, but in doing so, I reduce my annual pension from the 15 scheme by £8,000 per year. Now, claiming the pension early already reduces the annual income, but then also opting to do commutation will further reduce that annual pension. So, just something else to consider. Anyway, back to the reduction table, and moving over to the pension amount, I can see from age 55 I will receive £11,500 per year from the 15 scheme. Important to note that this is in today's money, and the pensions do increase annually with inflation. but let's compare that to what I would get should I not claim it early. The 05 scheme is normally paid at age 65 and the 15 scheme from state pension age. Looking at the total I will receive from state pension age onwards, that £23,128 is made up of £371 from the 05 scheme and £22,757 from the 15 scheme. A pretty good pension to be honest, and add the state pension on top of that, as well as my wife's workplace and state pension too, and not forgetting the other investment pots I have, and you can soon start to see how serving 24 years in the military and investing a little each month will put you leaps and bounds past the majority of the population in retirement. But I digress. So in total from age 55 my annual pension will be around £11,750 or £980 per month before tax. A fairly significant drop from the £23,000 if I had waited. Now I say before tax because pensions are classed as income and are taxed as such. If this was my only income and it was below the tax threshold of the day, then sweet, I won't pay tax. However, it is unlikely that this will be my only income, especially if I serve a full career and meet the early departure payment requirements. If you are not sure what EDP is, I will link a video below where I explain it. But simply, if you hit the eligibility criteria, then upon leaving the forces with a deferred pension, you will receive a tax-free lump sum and a taxable monthly income up until the pension becomes payable. Now, you might think that claiming the pension early would then stop the EDP income, but it doesn't. The EDP income will stop at age 65 for the 05 scheme and the state pension age for the 15 scheme, regardless if you claim the pension early or not. So, if I claim at age 55, I will have an additional £8,500 per year coming into my bank account from the EDP income. That will take my total annual income up to just over £20,000 per year. So the reduction in the pension for claiming it early is sort of offset by the EDP income, providing of course I am eligible for it, which I fully intend to be. But it is important to remember that the EDP income will stop. At age 65, my overall income will reduce, albeit by a few hundred per year due to my little time on the 05, but it's important to keep in mind as many of you will have significantly more time on the 05 scheme than myself. So there is a gap between the 05 scheme EDP stopping and the state pension kicking in. Depending on the proportion of the 05 scheme pension you have and that gap, this could impact your decision to claim the pension early, especially if you do not have any supplementary income for that interim period. But this can be easily mitigated by having an investment ISA and withdrawing from that if need be. If we scroll down further on the early payment pension reduction table, we can see the increase in the amount if I draw the pension at age 60 and 65. The amounts have increased a bit as we are getting closer to the usual age they are claimed at. At age 65 we can see that the AFPS05 detail is just 0. This is because that is the age the 05 pension can normally be claimed at. So there is no reduction to it as it's not being claimed early. The amount is then what it states with the deferred pension at 65 back up in the main pension details table. That 0 does not mean you will receive nothing, it just means there is no reduction, so don't panic if you see that. So, how do you claim the pension early? The same way you would claim the deferred pension, by completing AFPS Form 8. Under Part B, you would complete the highlighted boxes for each scheme by inputting the date you wish the payments to begin. And finally, some considerations you should be aware of so you can make the best informed decision. State pension. This has changed in various ways over the last 10 to 20 years. For many of you watching, including myself, state pension age is over 30 years away. It is unlikely it will be the same as it is today. Who knows, it could no longer be a thing, or it could move to means tested, which could see those with already a good pension get a reduced state pension, and so on. We can't possibly know what it will look like. Therefore, in my opinion, you should not heavily rely on it. But just to squash a rumour I hear pop up every now and then, the figures in the calculator do not include the state pension, and claiming an armed forces pension does not prohibit you from claiming the state pension. If I don't claim my pension early, then at state pension age I will have just over £23,000 for my armed forces pension, and I will also have another £12,000 from the state pension in today's money. And as I previously mentioned, including my wife's workplace pension and her state pension, plus additional investment income, and very quickly we are approaching around 100k in total household income during retirement. Knowing this allows us to make more informed decisions about our future, and at this current time I do plan to claim my pension early at age 55. However, things of course can change, and the final decision will be made as I approach that ripe old age. Now, let's talk about the investment income. Currently I pay £200 per month into a stocks and shares ISA. That money is invested into the stock market at the beginning of each month. I used to do £600 a month, but then kids came along and cuts had to be made. After some back and forth with the wife, we decided to cut the investment amount and not the kids. So, as an example, let's say I started investing when I was 25 years old and wanted to start drawing down on the pot at age 55 to supplement my income due to the reduction in the pension. I invest on average £200 a month for 30 years with an average real return of 6%. Real return means after inflation. Well, in this scenario, my investment pot would be just over £200,000 after only contributing £72,000 of my own money over those 30 years. But the interesting number is how much interest is earned at the 30-year point. This is the amount I could draw down each year without touching that 200k, providing I can maintain a 6% real return. And that is £11,600. And this is tax-free income, as that is one of the benefits using a stocks and shares ISA. Not too shabby. Now imagine if you can increase your monthly deposits or start investing earlier than 25 or leave it longer than 30 years. Compounding is amazing. Use a compound interest calculator to try it for yourself. Now of course that £11,600 will fluctuate a bit because it's invested in the stock market, so it's not a guaranteed solid income each year. Some years it may return more, others less. The 6% is an average, but just keep in mind this is essentially how civvy pensions work. They are invested and rely on the performance of the stock market to provide their retirement income. A crash can be devastating for retirees. The Armed Forces pension is not affected by the ups and downs of the market, as it is the taxpayers that fund public service pension schemes, similar to the state pension. So potentially at 55 I could have £8,500 per year from EDP income, £11,750 from my Armed Forces 05 and 15 pension, which I've claimed early, and an extra £11,600 from beginning to draw down from my investment ISA. That's nearly £32,000 per year. Not bad at all. Also, nothing stopping me from having a civvy job then as well if I really wanted to. Now, just think, if I invested more each month, could I bring that retirement date closer? Investment income and EDP up until the age of 55, then claim the pension early. How much would that number need to be? Start asking these types of questions now so you can make a plan and start acting on it. I may only invest £200 a month at the moment, but this is a momentary blip while the kids are in nursery. Once they are in school and I'm almost 2k better off a month, the monthly investment amount will be increasing. My goal is to have the option to fully retire when I leave the forces at 43 years old after a 24-year career. A completely achievable goal to anyone who sits down, makes a plan and works towards it. However, whether I take that option or not is a different story. I hope you're now armed with the knowledge to make smart decisions about your Armed Forces pension, whether you're dreaming of retiring at 55 or just planning ahead. What other considerations are there? Will you be claiming your pension early? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. If you liked what you just saw, please hit the subscribe button up there, and if you want to see some more videos, click over there. See you soon.